Passing through the veil of mystery, seeking answers no one is brave to ask. This is Bound to Truth.
And we will hear testimony today concerning recent revelations about a purportedly secret UAP program whose existence and findings may have been improperly withheld from Congress. This is going to be the original document about Immaculate Constellation.
Those of us who've been following this very closely have been hearing whispers of the words Immaculate Constellation for a few months now.
The Immaculate Constellation, it's a UAP reconnaissance program. I can affirm this 100%.
What is in here is wild. I mean, they're saying, I'm paraphrasing, but reports of F-22s getting like boxed in by flying orbs that they couldn't shake. There were satellite images or satellite image of a football field-sized flying saucer hiding in clouds.
I have personally walked people into members' offices for private meetings so they could see eye to eye and they could meet.
You are the author of what the world knows as the Immaculate Constellation.
Welcome to Truth. This is Christopher J. Lopez here. Hope everybody's having a great day today. I am not too shabby. Took a vacation. Did a trip with Jonathan Hershey, co-host, and then a new co-host going to be Cody Wright. He's got an amazing story. We're going to have him on the podcast and talk about himself and his experiences. And I think you guys are going to like him. I think he's really very easy to connect with, just a great humble guy as well. And we just got done doing our second venture, his first venture with us, but overall our second venture of the caves at a mountain in Washington. That'll come out to where that's at. That's probably already been announced. So I kept calling it Mount Rainier, but it's actually Mount St. Helens, and I'm going to leave it to that. There was some, I'll just say there were some disappointments, but then it got pretty extraordinary, right? And also, if you see me doing this, I'm trying to quit smoking because I am not getting younger. I may look younger. My hair looks younger, but I'm not getting younger. 43 years old. I know. Thank you. I know I look young. Compliments at John Hershey, where he works at the vape place in Suquamish by the Clearwater Casino. Go check it out. It's got some great products. I actually really like this. It's really cool. So today we're going to be talking about the Immaculate Constellation. There was a three-part series by Weaponized. I'm debating about doing this a one-part or two-parter because I've been hearing a lot of you guys out there kind of cutting the episode short. I don't want to lose you guys any attention regarding this report that came out that's just pretty extraordinary. Leaves more questions than answers, and you can call it BS and what you want. So we're going to definitely dive into that about the Immaculate Constellation and about Matthew Brown. So I have some notes that I was going to do on here, and I did decently. I was going to give some thoughts before, but I'm actually going to do it after when I play some of the clips to kind of stop and kind of wing it a little bit. I'm using a new platform called StreamYards that John got me hooked into. Really like it. Took a few hours playing with it. I'm the guy who likes to not read the instructions and just play with things until like, oh, I like this, like that, when I really should. And I guess I'm just kind of like get bored really easily. Don't like sitting around. So hopefully this will launch well and go well with you guys. And it's supposed to be better camera definition. So hopefully that looks well for everybody to watch. But definitely help me add the clips that I want to add on here for you to watch. That I think is going to really do it justice as well as the sound. So really hope this works really well. So before we get into that, back to the business a little bit. How can you reach us? boundtotruth34@gmail.com. You can reach us on Facebook, X, Buzzsprouts, let's see, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube. And other platforms that you find deemed fitting and fit that's more to your nature. Definitely hit the subscribe button. The more you hit the subscribe button, the more that builds a platform for everybody. And again, platform's yours. I want to hear your stories. Reach me out on all those platforms we talked about. If you want to be a guest on the show, share some thoughts and feelings on it, your experiences, as well as if you want to be anonymous too, like I said before, you don't have to put your name out there if you don't want to. Just again, one respect everybody's privacy and yeah, on that. And then I know John and I talked about it before, doing paranormal therapy. There's been a lot of things with filming in this year that has kind of gotten in the way of that. But since having the StreamYard that I have here, this is really, really going to help out in doing this, because I can do a lot more live stuff through here, which can reach all channels, which is awesome. It's a great start. And Cody had a great idea instead of call it paranormal therapy. We're looking at calling it Bound to Truth, Cabin Talk. I really like that. Really love the idea that it can be on all broad perspectives for all the audience out there to reach and talk to us live, and definitely ask us questions as well. We can ask you, and definitely see what we can do to help, and not only just hear your experiences, but also see how it's affecting your life. So, with that being said, we're gonna play. I'll play some clips in a moment, but I'm gonna read about what the Immaculate Constellation is, and the person who has Congress is named Matthew Brown, which he's a very intellect, well-spoken guy. Another Edward Snowden, I would say, is that kind of mindset, pretty heavy whistleblower. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna read what it's about. So what is about the Immaculate Constellation? So what is it? Immaculate Constellation refers to a specific unacknowledged special access program within the U.S. government focused on collecting and analyzing intelligence on unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, or the old term UFOs, and related entities. And related entities could be non-human intelligence, right? Which actually kind of goes to it. It's part of a broader network of SAPs linked to non-human intelligence and UAP technologies. The program's primary mission is to gather imagery, intelligence on UAPs and RVs using various U.S. military intelligence resources. So here's more detail breaking down. So a little more of a bullet point. Unacknowledged Special Access Program, which is USAP. USAPs are highly classified programs that are not officially acknowledged by the government, focus on UAP and related entities. The program specifically targets UAPs, which are objects in the sky that cannot be readily identified, and related entities like ARVs or RVs. What does that mean? Advanced return vehicles, reconnaissance vehicles, intelligence gathering. Immaculate Constellation utilizes various U.S. military intelligence resources, both tasking and untasking, to collect imagery intelligence on UAPs and ARVs and RVs. It's part of a network of SAPs that also deal with NHI and UAP. Again, NHI is non-human intelligence, suggesting a broader effort to understand and respond to these phenomena. The purpose: the program aims to collect, analyze, and disseminate intelligence on UAP activities, capabilities, and locations potentially to identify threats. So there is kind of a bit of summary about it. We'll definitely go more details with watching these videos. This like to be a two. And so go ahead, play the first clip, and then I'll get your thoughts.
Well, there's no going back. After you tell us this on camera, we had this conversation. This is it. This is the line in the sand. You're about to cross over here.
Absolutely. I am on a personal level giving up the future that I made for myself and was going to try to make for a family. I'm proud of what I accomplished in my time in government, and it's painful to leave the good people there and to know that there really isn't room for people to act according to their conscience and our constitutional ideals on the inside.
Is it your belief, based on materials, things that you've been exposed to, that you've seen, people you've talked to and communicated with over a period of a couple of years, is it your belief that the technology, the race for the technology, the understanding of the big secret is entirely in the hands of people outside the government and not for the benefit of the public or to protect American national security. It's in some other realm, in some other hands.
I think it's a mix. I think our military, has a long historic involvement in this. So does our intelligence community and our scientific academic community. We have, as a country, allowed ourselves to be penetrated, co-opted, and corrupted by an internationalist force that serves their interests and views nations, peoples as tools and means to an end.
Like a business cabal, international corporations that have no loyalty to any nation, let alone this one.
That's a large part of it. I think we have to go above that too, to start to explain the degree of the level of deception and the level of commitment they've had to maintaining that deception. It's above just monetary gain and power. They're afraid.
George and I have talked about whistleblowers that come to us and we protect them. We don't often report on when people come to us. We're doing this now. What are the repercussions? People talk about whistleblowers being afraid. And there's one set of being afraid, which is when you're squeezed by outside entities, that are fucking with you, which has happened to you. And we'll talk about that. But what are the legal implications of what you're about to talk to us today? Tell me the gravity right now. What are you facing? I want our audience to understand what it means for you to talk to us right now. What could happen to you?
My hope is that the stakes are not paid out, but they are life imprisonment and the possibility of execution.
All right, so you saw a little bit of an intro with Matthew Brown on a little bit of thoughts of his discovery, which is pretty repeated. I mean, for me, for you out there, I'm not sure if this is the first you're hearing, or maybe you have heard of quite a bit of it, but the same story, a lot of hidden government stuff, a lot of different programs that have been around for quite some time. And which, again, is not shocking. I mean, there's a lot of black programs that's run behind the government that we know about. We can talk about MK Ultra and all that stuff, mind control things. I mean, heck, President Clinton back in the 90s apologized for all these tests that were done to people. So it's not really shocking that this program exists, supposedly, which I believe it does, because obviously it's been in Congress's hands last 3 years, starting with David Grush back in 3 years, 2022 in July. End of July, gosh, I remember that pretty well. Boy. So interesting stuff. He's talked about, obviously, the risk he's taking going to the approach and doing this. And it's not just criminal, but possible execution, which is definitely different than the other whistleblowers, because he is kind of going outside the realm, because he has, you'll hear more, he's reached out to those channels. And even though he's been considered taken seriously, it's been kind of blackballed in a few things as well in regards to doing some more reports and so forth. And he's got a lot more to say. Like I said, it's 2-parter, maybe 3-parter. I was really trying to focus on clipping. There's so much information, clipping the stuff I think was very meaningful, helpful, but I'll definitely add the links to all 3 series on the platform here. So, anywho. So, yeah, I mean, same story. Whistleblower comes out, government's working for years, and my life's in danger, pretty much, right? A lot of stories for a lot of whistleblowers. I don't care if it's UAP related. I don't care if it's government related. Well, it's government related. It's just like a criminal, right? Hey, I'm in a mob. They're going to kill me, type of thing, right? To me, it almost like unfortunately works in that same way, where this entity is supposed to protect you, but yet there's things that you say or do for, I guess, the greater good of security, which I'm not against security within our government when it comes to weapons and technology that could give our adversaries an advantage. I totally don't want us to expose ourselves in that nature. We want to protect ourselves. We don't want to play our hand like in a poker game, we're there to win. Even though I'm not a fan of war, unfortunately, war is necessary because there's other people and enemies out there. And that's a whole nest of subject about war and so forth and all that. I'm not saying every war is justified, by the way, because there's wars that are unjust and unjustified. A whole nother conversation. But I'm hoping you get the gist of what I'm trying to talk about. So I'll be starting to play another clip. Definitely give my thoughts and get back to you soon.
We should talk about that. But before, this is your gateway. This is the entrance point. What happened? How did it happen? What did you see? What did you think?
Yeah, so the first exposure, or the exposure to Immaculate Constellation, happened on a shared server that was shared by all the offices in OSD. What I was doing at the time was opening files that were clearly misfiled and either sorting them to our offices, part of that server, or putting them in their own box to be sorted by other responsible jobs. I mean, this is more like volunteer duty, but yes.
So because you're a workaholic and you're curious and you read a lot, you come across a file that really is what leads us to being here today. It's the Schreiber file.
Yeah, so it was labeled 2018 Schreiber War Game. Might have been brief or something else, but that's it. There's nothing about that screams, it's a very interesting thing. In fact, usually a lot of war game briefs are pretty boring. So there's nothing that stood out about it.
Accidental exposure for you.
100%.
You go into it, and what do you see?
There's just a generic title slide. There's a banner without classification markings that just says Immaculate Constellation. And it has a placeholder slide that shows like the Schreiber Air Base logo and some logos of the units involved. But at that time, I believe it would have still been like Air Force Space Command adjacent. So still nothing particularly stunning. I think the name at the top, probably just the name of the exercise. So the next slide, though, is where it gets interesting, because the face of Lou Elizondo is on that next slide. And I was not who I was expecting to see. And it was accompanied by text to summarize. Please have some grace with me. It's been 7 years, but it was saying that Immaculate Constellation is an unacknowledged special access program established after the exposure of ATIP in 2017 by former USDI officer Lou Elizondo. And that's the gist of that first slide. And so I'm looking at that, and nothing particularly convincing that that's alien related or what the SAP is or what it's doing. So I don't know what to make of this. So I read the whole thing, and it got very interesting very quick.
So it's designated a SAP. This is a SAP. It's sitting on a server. Maybe it shouldn't be on.
Correct.
Right. So I think that's important. And also, it seems like it's just a response to the public spillage or exposure that we saw come forward with people like, and specifically Lou Elizondo. This was like an internal classified response to the fact, oh shit, some of this is out now.
Yeah, that's exactly the tone of those words, of that slide. That's the implied order of events that led to it being established.
So it's like 2018, maybe.
Yeah, the file was at least last accessed in 2018. I can't remember if it did say, the file creation date, or if I looked it up, but I know it was last accessed.
Can you see who's accessed it prior to you?
I can.
And what did you see?
So everyone says that I'm wrong, it's impossible, but the name I recalled at the time thinking, oh, that's odd, was
name redacted.
And did you know who that was?
Vaguely. At that time, people are considered superstars in leadership circles, so you just hear names like that, and that's what her name was.
Why would that be impossible? Why are people now in retrospect, why are people telling you that would be impossible?
Oh, she wasn't at the Pentagon then.
Mm-hmm.
Where was she? She was at the Pentagon, to my knowledge, but they're saying she wasn't there.
Right. Interesting.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that clip. So to summarize that, had some thoughts in regards to on his discovery. So he wasn't searching for it. He wasn't investigating like David Grush was. He just randomly found this file. He talked about war games and so forth, which is pretty common within the military. You hear about dogfights and so forth and all that. And, him being that workaholic, he really loved what he can do. You definitely see the passion, his tone, in his face. He really loved what he was doing. He would spend hours afterwards going through it, deciphering through all this stuff. I'm sure there's a lot of information in the Pentagon in regards to files and stuff. And he comes up on this document, the Immaculate Constellation. Pulls it up, makes a full read through. You hear about Lou Elizondo, which, if you guys don't know out there, he's the one who really helped open this case coming out in 2017 regarding the Tic Tac videos and stuff. Him running, it's not, well, Arrow is now, but I think it was ATIP at the time, which the Pentagon at the time denied that he was ever leading that, which obviously came out that he did. And so, so to his mind, just him reading it and just looking more, he's thinking, this is not a war game. This is something that's real. And then you hear about somebody who was supposedly not the Pentagon and government and at the time, but was obviously there, which is interesting. We don't know who the name is. I'm sure because of just security protocol and not having the clearance to do so. Who knows what the repercussions are, even though he says, potentially be executed. I'm curious why he wouldn't put the name out there. I'm not sure if it's his protection of Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, possibly. So a few thoughts kind of go through my mind about this. If it's that secretive, why would it just randomly be there? So it could have been two things. Human error, which happens. We're all human beings, right? Or a plant to have somebody discover this document and either be a disinforming agent, which Matthew Brown could be, or an accidental disinforming agent. What I mean is that hopefully someone will stumble upon it, launch it out to control that narrative. Psyops like that are not uncommon. Because the whole thing could be bullshit. It could be a lot more bigger than what it is. Or just a taste of something bigger, right? But I just don't understand how having that be on a server and just forgotten about it, has been accessed since 2018 and just whoops, forgot about it. I mean, that last person that they were talking about, who supposedly not the Pentagon was, I mean, did they forget to actually delete it? Did they have a dinner date? Did they had to pick up the kid? I don't know. If I tell you this, me work in the financial field, I'm a person who doubles and triples checks everything when it comes to client's information. I make sure to take out the shred that has any client information, make sure it's not left out at night. I make sure to reboot the computer that I use. Multiple computers if needed, if I'm working on the hotel line or in my office. All those things, right? I double, triple check it, but again, I'm pretty OCD about things. And for this, which is 10 times bigger, that can change humanity, was just sitting there. I don't know. I want to be fair and unbiased and just call a suspect. But yeah, kind of my thoughts on top of that. And so let's continue on and get another clip for you.
With Lou Elizondo's face on it, what comes next? I mean, you get a sense that I shouldn't be able to read this here.
No, not yet, actually. To be clear, at that point in time, I had no formal training in what SAPs were. There was no SAP marking on this, just a name, Immaculate Constellation. The opening slide, just we would call it improperly labeled, improperly classified.
What was it? What did it show?
So the next slide, the third slide about, just jumps straight into the mission of the SAP and showing what apparently the results of that mission are. And it's a collection incident in the Pacific Ocean. The subject of collection is several Russian naval intelligence vessels in the middle of the ocean at night. And above those vessels is a large black triangle floating in the air. This is a still image, but it is color.
Okay, so that's the first kind of event But what was the mission? What was the mission? That's what people want to know, is what was the mission of Immaculate Constellation as described in the product?
So in the product itself, you had to piece together the mission by reading the whole thing and kind of putting together the parts. It never spelled out fully, like as it should, the mission of the SAP. And I assume that's because this is a type of brief where there will be inserts to the deck, which would be inserted by the SAP control officer during the briefing that would provide another level of detail. But based on the information included in there and its description, the mission becomes apparent, and that is a bare minimum. It's the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance mission of a global nature for UAPs and RVs, ARVs. The hesitation there is some time has passed. One of those acronyms is in there, either RV or ARV, and that is how the triangle in this case was labeled.
That really highlighted to you? Anything else in that document is really striking?
Yeah, so the last example of the 4 was back to Russia again, this time I believe in the Atlantic Ocean, and it shows another Russian intelligence vessel underway, this time at night. The image is green infrared, and it shows above this Russian vessel another black triangle, but whereas the first example in the Pacific was an equilateral, large, pretty stunning object that was of comparable size to the vessels below it. This was a more definitely smaller. It was smaller than the vessel, and it was more angular in shape and sort of swept back. And it was also accompanied by text saying that there was no indication that the Russian vessel was responding in any way to this ship hovering above it. It did not describe in this instance whether it had miraculously appeared or if it was tailing the ship.
But triangular in shape and hovering.
Well, hovering probably matching speed though too with the ship.
Like USS Russell, other people argue, and I don't care what shape it is, when you have something with rangefinders off of a ship that goes with it, stops with the ship, continues. So this is not a new thing, this idea of triangular by angle of observation, pyramid in shape, some would say.
Could be.
You're right. So that's striking, and you saw that too.
Yes. Yeah, and that was the last example. After that was sort of a summary slide or two about just recapping like the fact that these incidents we are collecting these incidents around the world, that we are focused on UAP, RV collection incidents by tasked and untasked assets, and the collection and analysis of those data streams.
So sometimes we know where it's going to be, tasked assets. Sometimes we just happen to capture them untasked assets.
Correct. Okay. Correct. And I think a good example is in that brief itself, where the orb incidents appeared to be untasked assets. They were not there to collect on orbs. They were there to collect on something.
Okay. Okay. So you heard about items they discovered regarding we have a reconnaissance in this Immaculate Constellation to find out where these things are, and sometimes just get lucky coincidentally. And this big triangular shape being around a Russian ship is interesting. More curiosity, because we don't know what the hell it's doing there. Is it reverse engineered by Russians? Is it our tech surrounding a Russian submarine? I mean, what the hell we were doing out there by the Russians anyways? Is it because of this thing that we knew what's going to be there? Is because it's ours to test the adversary and how they're going to react? Or is it completely extraterrestrial and somehow we know where it's going to be? Again, a lot more questions than answers in this document so far. And just to leave a note too on this is that last week there was supposed to be a UAP hearing publicly in Congress. It's been promised by Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, and then somehow it stopped. Is it because of the Immaculate Constellation report that was talked about on the prior Congress? There's more details. I don't know. And I might add that in the second video regarding some of the reports on that. I'm debating about that. I'm wondering because of the three-part series that came out because of Weaponized and Matthew Brown and his claims and discovery, and found out that they didn't, but it was behind closed doors, a skiff, as you might say. It could be because of that. I don't know. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. So it looks like this will be a part 2 series. I hope this is not boring for you guys. Like I said, it's vague, it's bleak. All I can tell you is that some of the whistleblowers coming out, and I'm curious, and he's a first-hand witness with a report. I'm not saying first-hand witness of the objects that he was there and was developed technology or saw an NHI body, met an NHI, non-human intelligence. But I'm curious how many more whistleblowers are going to come out that's going to have more extraordinary information. And is this Immaculate Constellation just a psyop type of deal? We talked about how it just was randomly there, hidden in plain sight for anybody to access the Pentagon. Pretty much like leaving your computer open. We will be doing a part 2 series, or I will be doing a part 2 series to wrap this up because I think there's some interesting stuff in his thoughts. The next episode will lead to his involvement of bringing it up to his bosses, just like he would. He'll go in more details what the protocol is to that. And their responses are pretty shocking, but not surprising, as well as his thoughts on the subject matter at hand. And I think you want to listen to that one because I thought that was interesting on his in what he has to say, especially how intellect and intelligent this guy is. Definitely wait for the part 2 of it. Looking to either do it in a week or 2, depending on time. Do a lot of projects with afterlife research and film, all that stuff, and so forth. But I'll upload some other podcasts in between, and hopefully get Cody on with John this week. But to leave it to that, again, how do you reach us? boundtotruth34@gmail.com, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Buzzsprouts, Facebook, X. That's it. Oh, and Amazon, of course, and other platforms as well that will be due to your liking. Again, definitely email your thoughts and comments. If you want to be the guest of the show, we'd love to have you on. And yeah, hit that subscribe button. Build the platform. The platform is yours. There's many other platforms. I'm hoping this one platform will be bigger for everybody to have a voice into. I don't care what your experiences are. I don't care what you've been. I don't care if it sounds crazy. To you, it's real. It's a real event. Real exposure. Life-changing stuff, potentially. And your voice should be heard. Thank you for listening today. And as always, see you on the other side. Good night.